So that's why securing user accounts is pretty much chapter 1. You don't want any users on your system having the same access as you as the administrator do. So, but there are some administrators maybe, or people that need access to certain parts of your system. So that's where sudo comes in. You could just give them sudo privileges and now they have access to that part of the system. Just like what's happening, back with another video, another Try Hack Me room. And this walkthrough is going to be hardening basics for a Linux system, and more specifically the Ubuntu system. This video is just walking through the hardening basics and specifically just securing user accounts using the sudo command and just looking through the system and how it's all set up as far as if you're trying to harden it or secure it to bring it online or to bring it on a network. So if you've been rocking with me, you already know it's the same thing. We're just going to walk through. You could read through these parts. It's just about everything that you're going to go through in the room and everything, just the basics. And it tells you how to log into the device that we'll be using today, which I'm already logged into. So first thing first, we got a SSH as spooky. That's the username. At tryhackme is the password. Clear the screen out. And we're going to start first of all with the groups command. And as you can see, this user, this is the part of the groups that he's part of. Sorry, he's part of all of those groups. So that's how this room kind of starts out. Let me show you. We got about we got about 15 tasks to go through. But I'm going to try to knock them out like, 2 at a time. Some of this stuff, like this stuff is just, you could just read about, which they have great information, especially the principle of least privilege. And you definitely want to know that getting into this cybersecurity space. The principle of least privilege is pretty much common sense, but I just look at that as just like a need to know basis. Principle of least privileges, you just give the people the privileges they need to do their job, the basic stuff that they need. Don't have all these SSH services and telnet services running on their machine if they're not trying to connect to remotely connect to anything, or they don't need that kind of stuff to do if they just got a workstation that doesn't need that. So that's how I look at the principle of least privileges. It definitely is more in depth than that and definitely clear if you research it on your own. But where we're going to start is task 4. So task 4 is just part 1. Talks about sudo, and sudo just stands for super user do, and all sudo is a tool. It's a tool, it's a command, a utility that you can use within this Linux system that gives a non-root user privileges of the root user. So that's why securing user accounts is pretty much chapter 1. You don't want any users on your system having the same access as you as the administrator do. So, but there are some administrators maybe, or people that need access to certain parts of your system. So that's where sudo comes in. You could just give them sudo privileges and now they have access to that part of the system. Definitely some more good information here about the research and everything. But where we're going to start off here is adding users to a predefined admin group, meaning you're adding a user to a group that already has those privileges of sudo. And as you can see, sudo is not a group that this user is a part of, so he shouldn't have any sudo privileges as the people that are in that sudo group have, as they give you another command other than groups command. So groups checks what part of groups you are, and then you got sudo -l. And the important part here is user spooky may run the following commands on Harden. Harden being the system, spooky being the username. But this last line is the most important because it breaks down what commands, as the user I'm logged in, what commands I have access to running and everything. As you can see, it starts off here with root. This is telling you right here that everything following this user has root privileges too. Anything in the USR bin or anything in this USR S bin directory, and any directory or file. I think that's what that asterisk means. Alright, moving forward. So user spooky may run the following commands, but as you can see now, comma, that separates the command, another command. So this command, he's got an asterisk here saying anything, right? A wildcard. And then we got this other character here, exclamation point. And if you research that means to negate this command. So he doesn't have access to this, and so on and so forth. So let's go back over here, and that's what this is basically telling you. But so yeah, he's just showing you right here sudo -l, and as you can see in the example, user Nick may run the following commands on Harden. This means that user Nick can run the command for all hosts, all user, and all commands. That's the important information that you want to grab out of that. So they gave you right here method 1 of adding users to a predefined admin group. Here you go. You got two methods. You got user mod, which is a command to add, and then you got user add. This one is -ag. The reason why they're using that switch or that tag right there to add this user to the sudo group, because it's user mod, then this option here. Sudo is the group that you wanted to add. If I wanted to add them to dip, it would be user mod -ag dip and then the username. But it's to the sudo group that I want to add them to, right? And the -ag, all this is saying is keep all of these groups with him, all of the privileges that this user has to all of these groups. Same like here. If I did a user mod -ag sudo, if I was able to do that, it would say keep all of this and just add me to the sudo group. Now, user add -g means, hey, just add this user specifically to the sudo group. User add -g. That's the difference between user mod and user add. This is just specifically to that sudo group. This is saying, hey, -a is saying keep all of these existing groups and just add me additionally to the pseudo group. We're going down here now to the another way to view this kind of information of what you have access to. If you can't, for whatever reason, run this sudo -l command, it says to check out this vim file, sudo vi sudo policy file, which is named the sudo policy file. So sudo -l, you can see what you have access to, and then sudo vi sudo, it gets you access in here. It's definitely a sudo policy file, so we'll work with that. And within here, you can see the privilege specifications for a user that is root. So, am I root? How do I know if I'm root or not? Who am I? No, I'm spooky. So let's go back into sudo vi sudo. Nothing for spooky. There's user alias specifications, and that's what all of this is starting to get into. You could start specifying spooky here, within here, and give him certain commands that he can run. That's what we'll be going into, because right now it's saying I can only run commands such as, like it says up there. Let's clear the screen out. Sudo -l, right? I can only run usr bin and usr sbin, right? But in here, I can assign different users different commands, so I can give more privilege to different commands from the user that I'm at right now. So again, hopefully that made sense. We'll jump out of here, go back into this, and that's what method 2 is all about. So you have method 1, which was using these commands to add them, and then method 2 was, hey, let's add them through the sudo policy file. They're giving you two ways to do it. So you create a user alias, which admins is the user alias, and then you add the certain users to that alias, right? Then you have this right here, again, the user alias of admins. We already established what that is. And then all hosts, all users, all commands. And then this is just doing an individual user, so we could just do just ourselves, spooky, and then we could give ourselves all hosts, all users, all commands. And we can run it like that. So that takes care of part 1. And since we went through so much of part 1, part 2 is just pretty much just gives you an example of a way to test out how to edit that sudo policy file and how you're able to give yourself different kind of privileges even though you don't have the privilege to do it. So again, I hope all of that made sense. That wraps up task 1 and task 2. In my next video, I will go through actually adding a user, which will be spooky, and then I'll go through adding commands to get us access to the root. And we'll go over also how to disable some things within the system so that I'm not able to do that if I did have access. We can harden the system to where if somebody did have access to that policy file, they still wouldn't be able to gain root access. And that's what the next task, like task 3 and task 4, will be going over. Again, hopefully y'all been enjoying this content. If you're feeling it, share the video. You know what I'm saying? Y'all catch me on that next video. Holla at your boy.